Okay, now we're back. Okay, so this is the server. So before the disruption that I was talking about, this two function, and this two function, just pay attention. It doesn't have the equal zero at the end, right before the semicolon. Okay, and so which means that this is just a regular virtual function. It's not pure virtual function. Pure virtual function is just an abstraction. It's not supposed to call. Okay. Okay, so with this, let's actually take a look at the implementation of the function. So still, this part is a constructor. You probably can just ignore it, or you just copy whatever code it is. You can kind of self-learn about, because we're not doing anything particular in the constructor. So it's like that. So I want to take a look at the upload. So now this is upload. The upload take one argument, which is location underscore JV. And then the same thing. And the server side, I always take the timing about, when did I receive this? And after this, just check, make sure okay, it is recording. Okay, so now I'm actually doing the real check. Okay, I'm doing the real check. And after I check, I kind of put it into an array. And this array is called HW3 TL vector, which is I'm actually storing all the data that's actually related to the tracing for that particular user into this array called HW3 TL vector. Okay, so by the way, let's actually review what is HW3 TL vector. Is what I call define a class called timed. What? Oh, timed location.h, which is, so this is the TL, which is timed location. It has the location, has the time. Wait a minute, it doesn't have the identity. Okay, I need to update that. Okay, but this has a location and the time. Okay, by the way, this is each element of that vector. Okay, so this is the whole vector for that. I need to adjust here a little bit, just to let you know, but just now, just assuming we know that HW3 TL vector is the placeholder for us to store the location and time pairs on the server side. All right, so I want to show you a contrast between these two. Let's actually go back to, lost my voice again. Oops. Hello, okay, I'm back. So this is the design of a server that's actually very significant. It's very simple, but it's very significant. HW3 Ref, I want to use Ref1, ecs36b, HW3 Ref01.cpp. I sometimes with a university of the size of UC Davis, we deserve has a more reliable Mac technology. Okay, that's just my humble opinion. All right, so so this is a program before we do the split. But if you look at this program, I have this array here. Is called time location HW3 TL vector. Okay, you see that parameter is there, and that is about 2 lines above this check. About 2 lines above this check. So let's take a look at the server side. On the server side, unbelievable. Okay. So can you hear me on the back? Okay. So if you compare this two pieces of code, here is the first few checks. That's the original program over here. But then you see that that particular line is gone. This particular line is gone. Okay, there is a reason when you do the okay, next time I probably should ask one of our TA when I'm talking, he or she will put the finger over here for all 80 minutes. Then I'm just kidding, okay? It was just really, really fragile, this device. All right. Okay, I got distracted by this. Sorry about that. Okay, so I had that in the non-remote procedure call. Okay, one more time, I'm going to give up on this. All right, so I have that in the top, by the way, is the one that's actually before the separation of client server. I have that array over there. But then on the bottom, when I do the separation in the server side, I no longer have that. Okay, it's a very simple issue. The issue is, okay, I'm going to give up on this. Sorry about that. I'm going to just speak louder and make some noise. Okay, so I'm sorry that if you cannot hear me, you have to move a little bit forward. Okay, so over here, that this function called, I mean, by the way, how many member function I declare with the remote procedure call? How many functions? 2, right? One is upload. What's the other? Question, right? I have a 2 function. One is upload and the question. And both of them need to access that particular array because one is the original one that I have to load it to the array. But the other one, I'm actually going to use that to do the iteration to actually compare to do the time difference. Let me show you my question. You will know what I meant. So over here, this is the first function, which is just trying to do the upload. And I have the other function called question. And under question, you see that I have an array. I still need to do the checking. But after I do the checking, I have to go through the array to do what? To do the time diff. Okay, you should be familiar with this part of logic, is that I need to get each element from the HW3 vector to actually do the comparison so I know exactly which entry that I need to look for. Okay, so that's essentially need to be done in the question. But I have a 2 function. They actually sharing the single data structure called HW3 vector. Okay, so essentially this data structure is shared by all the function. So this is a little bit different. When you want to do everything in the same program, you can declare in one of the main function, they both are sharing that. But now there are 2 separate functions. This is a global variable, by the way. And by the way, I should say that in this case, I declare this as a global variable, which I will show you where I declare it. But if I really want to implement this, I'm going to actually implement this in files. I'm going to put it in the file such that even the server crashed, when they recover, they will still be able to access to the file. So now I want to show you how I declare that. Here, just pass it. You see, I actually declare here. I declare HW3 vector outside of the function such that this became a global variable and shared by both functions. So the upload function is going to put the data into that vector called HW3 TL vector, while the question is going to also use that. So it's nothing magic, but because of the remote procedure call, because we set up that sometimes how do you allow multiple functions to share the information? There are multiple ways. One of the way is we have to use global variable. Okay, so okay, I kind of go over this upload, and you can see that the code, I'm just essentially, I follow the template and took the code out and shovel it into this function. And then I have to take care of the global. Let me actually summarize what we did. Okay, let me go over here. After we did the question, and then this part is main program to set up a server. This part I would say is pretty standard. I mean, I wrote so many remote procedure call program. For the server part, this main program is always the most simple one. The typical things, I copy the whole thing. The only thing I need to worry about is change the name of the server. I have to say my HW3 Ref2 server. And the rest of them will be standard for any server program I wrote, okay? So that's very simple. So let me summarize what we did today with this program. Let me just write it here. The first thing we did is we have a program called ecs36b, s2024, HW3 ref2.json, which is, this is really specify the two RPC function that we will support in terms of getting this things, getting the client server to be able to work together. That's number one. Number two, we should follow the template of remote procedure call. Okay, follow the template, which means that we usually means we first take a look at those two .h file, which is, I would just write down HW3 client.h and HW3 server.h, which is both generated. But this essentially, this template is help us to inheriting from those classes and to have the two function in the .cpp file. So those two functions are basically upload and question. Okay, I have those two functions done. Okay. And then number three step, what we did is we kind of copy and paste. I will use a double quote, copy and paste. Copy and paste from the original program, which in this case is ecs36b HW3 Ref01.cpp. We kind of, from the original program, section by section, into those two functions. Those two member function. And then number four, finally, we have to take care of the global variable of the information sharing, which is between those two functions. And that's why we have to declare that HW3 TL vector to be a global variable. So there are two options. Multiple options, actually. The first option, of course, you can use global variable. And the option I really like, which is probably the more professional approach, is try to use the files. So we can make sure that we have a persistency about our server. Because, well, okay, when you start writing a server program, the number one concern you have is robustness about the server, whether the server will be able to survive. Whenever it crashes, it will be reliable. I mean, for example, in a typical industry server system setup, they usually have multiple copies of the server. And then they share the information. Because why? Because the first server crashed, your next request will redirect to the second server. And the thing is that because the information are synchronized all the time, so when you reach the backup server, the information there should be really similar to what you have with that crash server. That's become another whole big engineering issue, is how do you make sure when you have a replicated server and all of them have a more or less the same amount of information. That's why when you use Google and Facebook, sometimes, especially Facebook, when you upload something or you make a comment or you make a like to Facebook, and that piece of information might not be immediately available if you use the other account, try to access the same information. It's because these two assets, this two client program, they might access different server, and their information might not have been synchronized perfectly. So you always will observe some glitches. So that's why the engineering about the server technology is very important for programmer, that we want to make sure that the server is robust, consistent, and secure, and a bunch of other things, okay? So file is something which is very critical, which in a few weeks, I will actually give you the glorified detail about how do you do the files into this kind of program. Okay, so that's pretty much what we did today about this HW3 Ref2, okay? So that's it. Any question? Today office hour is the STEM office hour, because I think today's office hour is 1:30 to 2:30. So last week, because I was delayed, I missed the bus. So by the time I got home, it's already late. That's why last week was about half an hour late. Sorry about that. Okay. But this week, Thursday is 11:30. Thursday is 11 to 12. And Tuesday is 11 to 12. But Thursday is 1:30 to 2:30. Okay. All right.